Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series. Hey guys, it's Adam here, and check it out. I got a Mega Drive Model 2. This is the Japanese version. This is a very recent pickup, somewhat recent, that I got up at Toy Rat in Milton, Ontario, Canada. And I thought I would go ahead and clean it up and get it nice and shiny and, you know, up and running again. I already know that it works, but I thought since I have this now, I would take the opportunity to show you this model versus the other Model 2s, in case you're interested. This is the Sega Genesis Model 2. This is what we got in North America. And this is, of course, the European/Australian Model 2. As you can see, there's a few differences here. Of course, ours was called Genesis, not Mega Drive, so it says Genesis up there, whereas the others do not say that. The Mega Drive Model 2 European/Australian says 16-bit on it. Ours does not. It also says Mega Drive 2, has red buttons, of course. And the Japanese one, kind of interesting. It says 16-bit in a different font, has an indicator for the power, it says on and off. It says power. It also says Mega Drive 2 with their logo, as well as reset. The reset button is blue. It's a different texture. It doesn't say reset on the button. It's just like got lines on it, kind of like Braille. And most interestingly, there is no power LED. The other two do have LEDs, so that when you turn them on, they turn red, and you can see that they're on. This doesn't have that. And of course, the cartridge port is a little bit different. Japanese games were a slightly different shape, therefore that they had to fit in there. They had like more squared edges, whereas ours did not. A Japanese Mega Drive game will not fit inside of a North American Sega Genesis. However, it does fit in my European Mega Drive, and I'm not sure, perhaps this one was modded in some way. I honestly don't even remember because I got it a long time ago to take those cartridges, but either way, I don't know if that's stock. But yeah, so there you go. Also, this isn't just a button, it's a switch. Interesting, huh? Anyway, enough of that. Now let's go ahead and clean this thing up in the event that you actually have one of these. I have done a separate video specifically on the Sega Genesis Model 2. If you have this model, you can follow this guide, and it should be pretty much the exact same thing. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of difference here as far as what we're going to have to do. One thing that is worth noting is that this is substantially lighter, and that's for a very specific reason. The Japanese, in Japanese consoles, especially around that time, they did not require RF shielding, which is those big metal plates inside, so as a result, it's nowhere near as heavy, which is really very nice. But yeah, we're going to get started here with the most basic thing. We're going to flip this over. And there's 4 screw points on it, and it just uses a standard Phillips head screw. Once you have those 4 screws out, the first most obvious thing you should do is take this side plate off. This is for the Sega CD. That way, in the event you decide to connect it, you'll have that. So there's 2 pieces of plastic, ideally, that will be there. You can go ahead and clean these up with soap and water if you want to. I would recommend doing it. But then you'll be left with just the body of the console here. So you'll flip it over and basically take the top off just like this. And then you're left with the primary shell there, as well as the board. Now, again, like I said, there's no RF shielding. It might look a little strange. You'll take the switch off, as well as this little piece of plastic there, which looks like it's ultimately supposed to go in here. Looks like there's, well, in my case, it looks like those 4 things used to be tabs, and it looks like they kind of broke off at some point. I don't doubt that someone's been in here at some point, perhaps cleaning and fixing this thing up before. But yeah, regardless, you'll have this little thing that you'll want to take out as well. Clean those up. And then I think the most logical thing to do at this point is to take this blue thing out. So you'll see you can kind of pinch that and push them in, or push it in, and you'll end up with this little thing. There's probably going to be a spring under there. Oh, no, there isn't. So there you go, just a little blue piece of plastic. Clean that up. And then we'll take the cartridge board out, or the cartridge bay, if you will. There's 3 screws there, again, Phillips head. Once those screws are out, all you do is take this off just like that, and you'll have the cartridge slot there. Go ahead, again, soap and water, clean that up. And then you'll be left with just the top here, which, as you can tell, it's not awful by any means, but there is some dust built up in there, and some grime and so on. So yeah, we're going to wash this up with soap and water and get this nice and clean as well. Alright, I've washed it up, and it's all looking pretty good. There is one little spot here on the front there that I can't quite get rid of with soap and water. I don't know how well it's even going to show up. It's very small. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to take out Mr. Clean's Magic Eraser. It's basically just like a really fine little sandpaper, and I'm just going to take it and wipe it very carefully along that spot. Which you have to be careful, especially in this particular location, because this stuff will take logos off, and as you can see, there's a logo right above it, so I have to be very careful there. But yeah, looks like that pretty much did it. I'm gonna, go ahead and rinse this up again, get this dust out of here, but then we'll move on. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So now I'm gonna put this off to the side along with all these other plastic pieces and just let them dry. And while they do that, I'll bring in the board here. Now, as you can see, of course, because there's no RF shielding, it's pretty easy to get down to the board and take this out, which is the next goal. So in order to do that, we're going to take these screws out. Now, there's 4 in front, plus 2 in the back, 1 there, 1 here, and then there's 2 in the cartridge slot. So just go ahead and remove those. So I've got the screws out, and please be aware that the 2 that came out of the cartridge slot, the black ones, are longer than the other ones, so make sure to isolate them. At this point, all you're going to do is take the board out, which is actually extremely easy. There's really nothing holding it there except for the controller ports a little bit. Then you just kind of push on those, and there you go, you got the board out. So put that off to the side, and you'll get down to the bottom plastic piece here. And again, just like the top and the other parts, you're just going to rinse this up with soap and water and get it as nice and clean as possible. Okay, rinsed it up, and it's looking a lot better. A lot of the dust is out of there, of course. So I'm going to move this off to the side now, and we're going to bring in the board. Now, of course, there's no RF shielding again, so there isn't that much to do, so we're just going to do some basic maintenance here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to blow some compressed air on it and get some of the surface dust off. Frankly, there isn't that much here, but just for demonstrational purposes, I will show you guys how to do that. I'm going to be using the datavac electric duster. Compressed air, of course, works just as well, but basically all you do is this. Now, in my particular case, there's really nothing came off there because there really isn't much to get off. Although it did seem to unearth this little hair here, so that's good. That was inside the cartridge slot, so good to get that out. But yeah, just the less dust, the better. So the next thing we're going to do is probably the most important thing, is we're going to clean the cartridge slot. Because, of course, if that's clean, the odds are much better that it'll read the games all the time. Now, there's a number of ways you could do this. You could use a cartridge cleaning kit, which is usually what I do. You could do the credit card method, which is essentially you take a credit card, you wrap it in felt cloth, and you do what I'm about to do. Then also there's the sports game method, where you basically take like a worthless game and you do exactly what I'm about to do, which is you take this. This is actually specifically a cartridge cleaner designed for the Genesis way back in the day. But either way, any one of those methods you decide to use, what you're going to do is you're going to take a Q-tip, and you're going to take some Windex, or Windoline as it's known in certain places, and you're going to spray some on, just like that, okay, and wipe it along like this, and just make sure to get it on there, and make sure to have liquid available. Okay, and then you're going to take it and basically just put it in and take it out, insert it like this a few times, and yeah, I mean, I'm going to do it more vigorously after I turn the camera off, of course, but then after you're done with that, you go back with the same Q-tip and go back and forth like this, and you'll see, look, dirt comes off, and that's basically dirt that's been transferred from that to this, to this, to the garbage. So you get the idea. That's what you're going to want to do. I don't really recommend the sports game method. That's kind of a last resort option, honestly, just because it's not really a good idea to do that unless you have no other choice. This is obviously the best method, but work with what you got. But anyway, I'm going to continue doing that for a little bit, and then we'll move on. So at this point, there's only a couple other things I might recommend. One, cleaning the controller ports a little bit. There could be some dust built up in there. The easiest way to do that, take just a dry Q-tip and just kind of go around the edges there and just see what little bits of dust you can get off. But generally, nothing really goes wrong with these things. Sega Genesis are built like tanks, or Mega Drives, sorry. But you might also want to clean this. This is the contact port for the Sega CD in the event you ever intend to get one of those. You basically treat it like we just did with that cleaner. What I'll do is I'll take, again, Windex, spray some on this Q-tip, and just do this like that. And I'll end up doing that on both sides for, a little bit of time. And wow, see, look at that. So the idea is to just do that on both sides. So at this point, everything's kind of ready to go. I'm just going to let this the plastic finish drying, because of course you don't want to put the console back together while it's still wet. You could air dry. You could use like a towel or whatever to expedite the process if you want. Personally, I prefer to let it air dry just so you're 100% sure there's no moisture that ends up in there. The plastic is all completely dry, so I think it's time to put the console back together. So in order to do that, we'll just work backwards. We're going to take the lid out of the way there and start with the bottom here, and we'll just take the board and we'll put it back into place. Now, you have to line it up with a couple of spots, most notably the controller ports here, as well as you'll see there's big holes there that have to go in with those specific pegs that are kind of sticking up there. But once you get that all kind of lined up, it just kind of sits right in there. And now you'll remember that there are 4 screws here, these brass ones, and there's another brass screw that goes there, and a brass screw that goes there, and those 2 black screws must go right back in here, so make sure to do that. Once that's back into place, it's time to focus on the lid, so we'll move this off to the side and bring in the top part. The first thing we're going to do is put the little blue button into place. Now, if you look at that, you can't just pick it and go any direction. This actually angles slightly up to the right. You might notice if you have one. The slightly higher part has to go in the back if we're looking at it from this perspective. And then basically you just kind of like line it up and push it in. And you'll know it's working if it's kind of, you know, loose. See, that means it's working. If you put it in the other way, it'll be too tight and it won't function as a button. So there you go. Now flip it around the other way. I think what we'll focus on now is the the cartridge bay. So you're going to line that back up like this. And as you'll recall, there are 3 brass screws, so just go ahead and put those into place. So now it's time to take the switch here. Again, the switch is angled much like the reset button, and you want the higher right angle part to fall towards the back, just like this, or you know, that way. The higher up end goes towards the cartridge slot, if that makes sense. Then you take this other little piece of plastic, which again, I think there must have been tabs there originally, because there's no other reason. Because this should be more secured. It's not secured at all. Because if I flip this over, it's just going to fall. So my guess is there were tabs there originally. Anyway, at this point, what we're going to do is we have to line this point up with the power switch right there. Now, normally I would flip it down like this, but because of that, what I assume is broken plastic, we're not going to be able to do that. So we're going to have to do this in the reverse, which is to go like this and see if we can get everything to line up nice and neat here. And that's, you can see through there. Okay, I think we got it. There we go. Perfect. Works fine. So now at this point, what we're going to do is take our 4 remaining screws and put them back into place. There's only really one thing left to do, which is to take your little red Sega CD slot protector thing, put that back into place, and of course this piece of plastic, and put that in as well. And your console is back together. Now, of course, there is a little bit something else we can do to make this thing shinier and nicer and newer looking, as it were. What we're going to do is we're going to take some Pledge. This is basically just a cleaning product. It's used to prevent a lot of dust from forming, stuff like that. It also brings a nice shiny luster. This is known as Pronto in certain countries. I've been told by viewers that the only version of this you really should avoid is moisturizing. Beyond that, you're kind of good to go. I obviously use orange just kind of for the hell of it. But anyway, all you really have to do is take some, put it on a paper towel like this, and just wipe it over the plastic and put it on the top and on the front and the side and the bottom and all that. Just kind of everywhere there's plastic. And then let it sit for like 10 minutes and let it dry a little bit, and we'll take a look at the result. And there we go. Nice and shiny. Looks great. And hopefully it still works and I didn't do anything stupid. Got the console all set up here, and I popped in one of the only 2 Japanese Mega Drive games I have, which is a Dragon Ball Z game. Let's fire it up. And looks like we're good to go, which I would expect, because again, I tested this at Toy Wrap before I left and everything was fine there. So if it hadn't worked, that would have really sucked, because it would have meant I broke it. But yeah, no, everything's fine. Controller seems to be working. Start button, yeah, everything's fine right there. So there you go. I hope that helped you. If you have a Mega Drive Model 2, hopefully you learned how to clean it up, restore it, possibly get it working again. And if not, thanks for watching anyway. I appreciate it. So there you go, guys. I'll see you all later.